It's time now for the Business Leaders Spotlight on Money Radio.
Well, it is that time of the week once again. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:35, we sit down and visit with some of the Valley's business leaders, both men and women, making a huge difference right here in our own backyard and our community. And our next guest is doing just that in the town she grew up in, and really. You talk about being an influencer. Find Your Influence is the name of the company. And let me introduce you to the founder and CEO, Jamie Reardon. Jeremy, Mark Asher, good morning. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk. I don't want to do this. This is your life. But when you were but you obviously grew up here in town. Went to Xavier High School. We found out. I went to the bad guys across the street, Central. And then you went to CU for college. At what point in your life did you realize, I want to do something maybe a little different? Was it early in life? Because I know your father was kind of into the entrepreneurship, right?
Sure, absolutely. I'd say that it's definitely always been in my blood in some form or another. But after leaving CU and moving to San Francisco and really getting into the tech space, that's when I really became passionate about more of the need for additional platforms and technology that's out there. I had a finance background,
right.
So numbers were crucial to me, while also wanting to be creative. So that's where the blend of marketing and metrics and numbers really came into place.
So when you talk about being a finance major, obviously I'm in the game of finance right now, but like when you were in college, you're like, I'm going to do this, or no. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, did you have an idea of what maybe you're going to do, and then now you're doing something completely different?
Sure. I'd say that marketing was always my passion in college, but having a background in finance and being able to analyze P&Ls and balance sheets was also important at that point. And then I learned marketing in the real world.
You started, you mentioned in San Francisco at CNET, right? I think it's currently something CBS Interactive.
Sure.
Give me kind of how you got your your start, your feet wet, if you will, and getting into this business. I mean, obviously, First jobs are always some of the most important, right?
Absolutely. With CNET Networks, that's where I got the initial exposure to big brands such as Microsoft and Sony. It gave me the ability to kind of dabble and, again, learn more of the media advertising space. And it was just that platform to get me to the agency side and then move me to the client side, where that's where LifeLock really kicked off the idea around Find Your Influence.
That's interesting. So Jamie Reardon is the CEO and co-founder of Find Your Influence. You mentioned LifeLock, which is a local company here in Tempe, and something happened there. Why don't you explain that part of the story?
Sure, absolutely. So my business partner, Christine, and I met very early on. We were there 6 years. In the last couple of years at LifeLock, we both, our worlds converged. I was more on the acquisition side of digital media, and she was social. And we both needed content creators, or who we also call influencers,
right.
To get the word out there about LifeLock. At the time, we had some reputation management concerns. So we brought 50 influencers into the office. No question was off limits. They got an hour with Todd Davis, our CEO, and then they took the experience and put it back online. We went from a 30% positive brand sentiment to over 80% positive within 8 months.
Wow. And they also got a social security number too, right? Because he just gave that out to everyone. So that's pretty big. And at that moment, maybe you realize there's more out there. And that's kind of how Find Your Influence was created, correct?
Absolutely.
And let's talk about that real quick. Your headline here, your tagline, we make influencer marketing easy.
Yes. So
for people that don't really understand, what is influencer marketing? Like,
Sure.
What does that mean?
Sure. It's any thought leader or expert. So we could, let's use someone that's in travel. So if you are a hotel chain that are looking for individuals that are traveling across the country, that have a following that's really interesting or interested in travel themselves, then aligning with a travel influencer and following that content that they are creating. They have a brand. These influencers have a brand of their own, and a very engaged one at that. So at any rate, the power of influencer marketing are these thought experts and then a very engaged audience.
You have a pretty big, I mean, you work with some big companies,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Now, is this something for on the smaller level as well? Small business, startups kind of thing?
Absolutely. And actually, the initial intent of Find Your Influence was to be able to help the small businesses and those that can allocate $1,000 or $2,000 a month to influencer marketing. It is the closest thing to word of mouth. So at any rate, there's any shapes and size can work with influencers. We have multiple products depending on if you're a small business up to the Fortune 500 brands.
Again, our business leader spotlight this morning focuses on Jamie Reardon, the CEO and co-founder of Find Your Influence. And you can go to the website, findyourinfluence.com. And while you're there, you can kind of look around. And I always like to ask, like, this is great. And I know that marketing and finding those influencers and, like you said, word of mouth, sometimes you really can't put a price tag on that because it can make a company become something even bigger. I'm looking at your prices. It doesn't sound like that unreasonable to be able to do this. Like you said, if you have a company that can spend $1,000 or $2,000 a month, you can easily fit a pretty good package in, right?
Absolutely. And again, you can start with a couple influencers, and depending on your product and service, and scale that way. So, you can do a local campaign up to a national campaign.
I always say at the beginning of this, both men and women making a difference in our own backyard and our community, which I think is great. Here are two women making a big difference, and I know you advocate a lot for women business and stuff, so that's important, right?
Absolutely. All
right, what's the best way to reach you? I know I just said the website, but I'll let you say it. It sounds better.
Sure, absolutely. Findyourinfluence.com, or you can shoot us an email at info@findyourinfluence.com.
info@findyourinfluence.com. Jamie Reardon, the CEO of Find Your Influence. 5 years in the business, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And great success so far.
Yes, we're having a blast.
Good job. That's what's most important. Keep up the great work, and thank you for letting us shine the spotlight on your company today.
Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. That's Jamie Reardon, the CEO of Find Your Influence. Go to the website, findyourinfluence.com, and find out more. Our business leader spotlight for Wednesday.